Before sunrise, Burn Dairy and Deli is preparing to fuel your day with hot coffee, donuts, muffins, breakfast sandwiches, and other morning staples. For lunch, grab a giant deli sandwich made the way you like it, pizza, wings, wraps, or a fresh salad, plus something to wash it down. Then pick up dinner or a sweet treat and other pantry essentials. Now you can get your Burn Dairy and Deli favorites delivered with DoorDash. All day, every day, you can count on Burn Dairy and Deli. It's all good.
Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
It is another edition of the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Rosie's Corner, Stanley Law Offices, Brewerton Ace Hardware, and our great friends over at Liverpool Physical Therapy. For all of your rehab needs post-op, head on over to Liverpool Physical Therapy on Old Liverpool Road. They do an unbelievable job. Pete and the gang crushing it. Liverpool Physical Therapy, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Tip of the cap, thank you as well to the Syracuse Fitness Store, Axe Exotic Pets, and Heather Saxon of Hunt Real Estate. Go get her on Facebook. Buying and selling a home is just so time-consuming, so stressful. Heather can help you out. Heather at Hunt on Facebook. Heather Saxon, Hunt Real Estate, the official real estate agent of the ML Sports Platter. Let's dive deep and recap Week 8 in the NFL. And by the way, at the back end of this, I'm going to give you a crossover Bills-Dolphins recap show that I did for Bills Brawl. I want to spend obviously a little bit more time on the Bills, because that's a team that's not only near and dear to my heart, but closest to me, closest for the coverage and all that. So we will play that at the back end of this. So therefore, I won't start with that game after the Thursday night recap, as we go way back to last Thursday, and just an impressive win by Green Bay. I mean, they went into this game missing Smith and Alexander on defense, and they were missing Devonte Adams, and the beat goes on. Great franchises, they know how to win, and that's what happened here in this game. The Packer defense was also tenacious. They picked Kyler Murray off twice. They limited the big play with DeAndre Hopkins and company. The Green Bay Packers controlled the clock. Aaron Rodgers was a magician, even with numbers that don't blow you away. I thought this was one of the best games of Aaron Rodgers' career, 22 of 37 for 184 and 2 touchdowns. You're sitting there going, yeah, but it was only 184 yards. He only had 2 touchdowns. It was the way he did it. It was the way he shared the ball. It was the way he read plays. Tremendous job by Green Bay. And the story of the game for me is Rasul Douglas. I mean, here's a guy who was on the practice squad of the Cardinals just a few weeks ago and had been cut by the Texans. He'd been cut by the Raiders. Practice squad guy for the Cardinals. I'm not going to get a chance. And then all of a sudden the Packers call him because they need help. And Rasul Douglas takes advantage of an A.J. Green blunder in the corner of the end zone. The ball gets kind of tipped around. A.J. Green, at the end of the game, is not reading the play correctly, the throw correctly from Kyler Murray. And then, ba-boom, Douglas tip, catch, and makes the interception. Game over, 24-21 Green Bay over Arizona. Both teams now 7-1, but the Packers, to me, with this win and beating the Cardinals, you gain a game in the standings, and you gain the head-to-head, and the Buccaneers just lost to the Saints. To me right now, the Super Bowl in the NFC going through Green Bay. As of today, it's a week-to-week, day-to-day, Sunday-to-Sunday league. Panthers over the Falcons on the road. My pick 'em, I did not know what to do here in this game. I thought it was an ultimate coin flip. The Panthers needed this thing, and it just goes to show you, how messed up the Falcons are as an organization. I just can't trust this team. Now they don't have Calvin Ridley. He was out in this game, and he's out indefinitely because of his stepping away for mental health. I hope he is okay. I hope he gets better. I hope it works. But the Falcons are just a dreadful team. They're a dreadful team. They splash here and splash there with big plays. They've got major guys, and now at 3-4, the Falcons are pretty much dead as far as hoping to make the postseason. And I got to be honest. I mean, I would have traded some of these guys, especially around the draft or leading up to the trade deadline. I would have traded a bunch of these guys and just overhauled and started over. They already have a new GM. They have a new head coach. Arthur Smith right now really struggling as head coach. The Falcons are just a broken franchise. That's all there is to it. And on the other side, you had Hubbard, just a phenomenal game for him on the ground for the Carolina Panthers. And Carolina needed that win from a mental standpoint. 19-13, they get it done. They are now 4-4. Atlanta is 3-4. 49ers at the Bears. Exciting run by Justin Fields. What an unbelievable play he made. He stumbled after the snap and scrambled 22 yards for the incredible touchdown, but it was not enough. And, I give the 49ers credit. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo was unbelievable in this game. 17-28 for 322 yards. Mitchell on the ground. Samuel was fantastic as well. I have Derrick Henry on my fantasy team, and he's out for the year. We'll get to that in a second, but that's another one there where I'm sitting there going, man, maybe the guy I need to pick up is Mitchell on this 49er team. Goodness gracious, 137 yards. The offense starting to go through him a little bit, and they're still running a lot of those jet plays, jet motion, jet sweeps, and the like. Just a really, I think, interesting time for the San Francisco 49ers based upon the fact that you do have some time left here to salvage some things, salvage the season in a really hard division. And let's be honest right now, right? This 49er team, if they could just figure out what the hell they're doing at quarterback, and if this computer would figure out to not play audio during my podcast, thank you very much. It was on pause. I guess when you scroll down the screen, things can just start playing, which is just super, super annoying if you have the volume up. But this is a crucial time. I mean, the 49ers, we know. I mean, they went into this season with a Super Bowl roster. But what about the quarterback? Is Jimmy G going to be healthy and productive? Trey Lance isn't ready. A lot of people just called for Lance to start right away. We've seen him go in there, get his feet wet a little bit. He's really, really raw. He really is. The 49ers have a serviceable offensive line. They've got major weapons in Deebo Samuel, and they've got Elijah Mitchell running the ball really well right now. Ayuk can make plays. Sanu Sr. can make plays. And I'll tell you, they've got some monsters on defense. I mean, we know about Nick Bosa. We know about Fred Warner. We know that they can take the football away. They can hit you in the mouth. It's a 3-4 football team. We're going to know a lot about a lot of these teams in the next few weeks with the way the schedule works out. When you look at the 49ers, they got Arizona and the Rams the next two games. And then they go at Jacksonville. So I guess maybe the next two games we're going to know. Because if they lose the next two, I mean, they're dead. They have to go at least 1-1, and then they still got to make up ground on the back end. So the 49ers get a much-needed win against a really, really bad Bears team. Really, really bad Bears team. Moving on here, again, NFL Week 8 recap. Mike Lindsley with you. It's the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, Brian Conboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and Sit Means Sit Syracuse. Wasn't this just kind of like a culture win for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Browns? I mean, I didn't know who to pick in this game and the pick 'em. I mean, there's so many hard ones to go because I was back and forth, and I don't like what I've seen out of the Steelers overall. I don't like what I've seen out of the Browns overall. The injuries, da-da-da. I mean, Baker was back, I know, but you look at these two teams, and I said, Chubb's back too. They're home. We'll go with the home team, right? Like, I guess maybe Cleveland can take care of business here, and we know they beat them in the playoffs last year. But there's still always those games where these teams that are just overhyped and celebrated too early, they go up against a team that's been there so many times and they lose. And it just happens to be a rival in their own division, and the Steelers just played better physical football than Cleveland, and they made plays at the end. Unbelievable plays made by Pittsburgh in this game, including a late touchdown. Roethlisberger was very, very good. He was very serviceable in this game. Najee Harris, he's going to be a hell of a player for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Pittsburgh goes 4-3 now, 4-4 for the Cleveland Browns. And if you're a Browns fan, you have to kind of start wondering, are we on the outside looking in to a playoff berth, especially with New England and other teams in the fold? Eagles go and beat the Lions just 44-6. This game just was not close. It was 17-0 at the half, and then they piled it on, 21 points in the third, 6 more in the fourth. It was just a really average team beating the worst team in football. That's what that was. The Titans beat the Colts 34-31. Devastating news that Derrick Henry has broken his foot, and he will be out for at least 8 to 10 weeks, but probably for the rest of the season. They could rush him back. He could try to rush back. Whatever the case may be, Derrick Henry gone for a good chunk of time here. Again, best case scenario, he comes back in 8 to 10 weeks. I don't know. I mean, his work ethic is amazing. I think, the Titans are still a very, very formidable team. I think they can still make a little bit of a run here. I don't think that they're a Super Bowl team without Henry, however. But now it's going to be, big boy pants, being put on times 2. A.J. Brown, who had an unreal game, 10 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown. Him and Tannehill are going to have to really step up their games. What is going to happen now with with this Tennessee running attack, right? I mean, this they've got to have the next man up theory. I mean, that's really all this is. They've got to have Jeremy McNichols right now. I mean, I know they picked up Adrian Peterson, but Jeremy McNichols right now I think is going to get the boatload of the carries. Can they work in kind of like Dearness Johnson did for Cleveland, right? That next man up theory. It worked pretty good for the Browns when Nick Chubb was out. Dearness Johnson went nuts on that Thursday night game against Denver. And this was a huge loss for the Colts because let's flip it for a second. If the Colts had won, they'd be 4-4. The Titans would be 5-3. That's only one game separated. Split the regular season series. Now, the Colts are 3-5, and they blew an early lead. They were up 14-0 early in this game. But again, it was very, very early. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. Well, they had a double-digit lead. They blew the lead. But 14 points in the first quarter isn't a huge lead in the NFL. I mean, it's a 2-score game. You score any amounts of points, get that momentum going, and then score again, and we have a brand new situation, right? So, but if the Colts had won, it would have been a much different look in the standings. Now, Tennessee 6-2. They have a few game lead on the Colts, and they've won 2 in the regular season. That's a head-to-head job. Tennessee is beyond the front runner to win the division. The question becomes, can Tennessee hang on and keep stacking wins, to use Josh Allen's words? Can they continue to keep winning, so that they have an opportunity, to get home field advantage? I don't know if they're a good enough team to do that. All right, let's rip through the rest of these games here quick. Jets beat the Bengals, one of the more impressive games of the season. The Jets get, Mike White, who just was starring in this game. He had a 400-yard game. I know he threw 2 picks, but he had 3 TDs. And the Bengals just didn't execute. And this is just the latest. Oh, that's cute. The Bengals are cute, right? They're a neat, fun, cute story. Yeah. Well, guess what? Put that on hold. I mean, they just obliterated the Ravens, and they beat the Steelers. They go into hostile territory in the division, win a couple of big-time games, and then they lose to the Jets. I mean, really? So let's all hold the phones for the Bengals and the Chargers, right? Like, they haven't done anything yet. They haven't arrived yet. We're only halfway through a season. They've both stumbled terribly when they could have really grabbed the bull by the horns in their respective conference and division. Give me a break. Great job by the Jets, in this game. Carter was good on the ground, and the Jets go to 2-5, Bengals to 5-3. The Rams crushed the Texans. 16 points, probably not crush. 38-22. Again, just a game where just a way better football team against a team that right now looks like a Division III team. And what else can you say? I mean, it's Stafford, it's Henderson, and it's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp right now is arguably the best wide receiver in football. He's finding space like crazy. He's become Stafford's way, way, way beyond number one. I mean, he is a 1-1-1-1-1 throughout. Robert Woods had a decent game. He had a second touchdown that sent the Rams to that 38-0 lead. He was all over the field. He's got great hands. I know the Bills have a really good team and a great crop of wide receivers, but man, Robert Woods, I think in the Bills' offense right now would look pretty darn good too. He's a heck of a player. Rams are 7-1, Texans 1-7, and the Rams stay pace with the Green Bay Packers. The Patriots beat the Chargers 27-24. I mean, what can you say about Bill Belichick? I think I heard the other day that he hadn't lost to a rookie head coach since like 2009 or something like that. And he dominates rookie head coaches. He dominates rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks. Justin Herbert's a young quarterback. This is year 2 for him. And the Patriots just were all over the field on defense with Adrian Phillips making the pick 6, which was, a big moment for him. I mean, that's his former team. And, again, the Patriot way. Plug and play. Stay focused. Do your job. They didn't play overwhelming football. They did what they had to do. And, oh, by the way, there was a reason why Sony Michel got traded for a bag of peanuts. Look at Damian Harris, man. Every single game that guy plays, it seems like he gets into the end zone. Al Galore, good enough. Bourne, good enough. Myers, good enough. Henry, good enough. They just had a bunch of guys who caught balls here and there, and then they made the big play on defense. Their offensive line was outstanding all game. And again, that is what the Patriots are going to do in 2021. If they're going to make the postseason, that's how they got to do it. Chargers 4-3, all of a sudden a different look now for LA. And the Patriots at 4-4. It's a playoff. I picked them to make the playoffs. By the way, how about the Patriots this year on the road? They are unbeaten at 3-0. Seahawks beat the Jaguars 31-7. Not a lot to talk about here. Just the Jaguars are a complete and utter mess. I can't believe they won one football game this year. This is just a terrible football team. The O-line is awful. They have no structure. There's just a lot of guessing in this organization right now. They can't get off the field on both sides on third down. They don't have any playmakers on defense. They can't cover anybody. They make too many mistakes. I mean, it's a ridiculous clown show with the Jaguars, and the Seahawks behind Geno Smith get a win that they needed big time because the season was on the line for Seattle. You can't lose that game at home against Jacksonville. Seattle takes care of business 31-7. They moved to 3-5. Jacksonville to 1-6. The Broncos 17-10. They beat the Washington football team. I tell you what, I'm so disappointed in the Washington football team. I picked them to win the division only because I couldn't trust Dallas, and I loved Washington's defensive line. Right now, you won't even know they had a defensive line. They have just fallen back so bad, and Denver just in an ugly slugfest type game wins at 17-10. And of course, just recently they trade Von Miller to the Rams for a couple of picks, so the Rams are going for it. The Broncos still trying to find who they are and what they're going to be. The Broncos 4-4 somehow. Washington is 2-6. Saints beat the Buccaneers 36-27. Jameis Winston out for the year. Hurt his ACL, tore that, and a partially torn MCL. And Trevor Siemian in. And, this New Orleans team, plug, play, great coaching, awesome playmakers. And, oh, by the way, you're going to start to get some people back. It's a dangerous football team, man. And if they can stay up and around that NFC lead, we know, like Green Bay, they're really, 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 really hard at home to beat. They are. Kamara, 19 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown, but he was spectacular, when he had to be. They're going to get Thomas back soon. Their defense is getting better and healthier as the weeks go on, and they picked Tom Brady not once but twice in this game. Just a fantastic effort by the New Orleans Saints. Undermanned. They move now to a very impressive 5-2 on the season. Speaking of team, and Buccaneers dropped to 6-2. Speaking of teams plugging and playing and trying to do without their big guns, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, whoa. Sunday Night Football, they just made unbelievable plays. I mean, Cooper Rush was great in this game. You couldn't really tell the difference between Cooper Rush and Kirk Cousins, could you? I mean, I couldn't. I think Kirk Cousins has played extremely great football this year, and that's why the Vikings are even where they are, even a game under 500. Dalvin Cook continues to be wasted. Adam Thielen continues to be wasted. Justin Jefferson didn't do much in this game, 2 for 21. But it was more about Cooper Rush, and it was about The Cowboys didn't have a great ground attack in this game. They only had 78 yards total on 24 carries. They couldn't get things going. It was an air attack. I mean, Cooper Rush, he did throw the pick, but Amari Cooper, 8 for 122 and a touchdown, 6 for 112. From CeeDee Lamb. Cedric Wilson made crazy great catches the entire game. And the defense continues to wreak havoc. Micah Parsons, I think Kyle Pitts was the best player coming out of the draft. But so far in the NFL this year, as far as impact, Micah Parsons is the best player. He's the best rookie. 11 total tackles. 10 were solo, 1 QB hit, 4 of those tackles were for a loss. Remarkable. Curse, Lewis, Brown, Wilson, Hamilton, Van Der Esch, they were all over in this football game. And that's obviously one of the big differences for any team in the NFL right now. The Dallas Cowboys defense has been absolutely spectacular. Huge win for Dallas on the road, hostile environment, no Dak Prescott. They get it done, and I think that was a big win for Mike McCarthy too, because that shows, hey, I can fight adversity as well. I can game plan for another team without my star quarterback. Dallas, again, I still need to figure out this team. They're another team like Cleveland that every year they're hyped up. People go nuts about them, and then something happens. They lose a couple of bad games, or they choke in the playoffs. Right now, they appear to be really strong. But I want to see where we're at in 3-4 weeks. I want to see, that week 10, week 11, week 12 area. What do the Cowboys look like now, right? What do they look like now? Dallas 6-1, Minnesota now 3-4. Chiefs beat the Giants 20-17. Tell you what, man, the Chiefs, they love playing with fire, don't they? I mean, they really do. They just do. I mean, this team has been so gimmicky and full of gadgets, even, during the 2 Super Bowl runs, winning one, losing one. I mean, the year they won, down double digits in the postseason to Houston. Same thing with the Titans. Same thing against the 49ers in the big game. They played with fire quite a bit last year in some games. This year, they're a 4-4 football team. It could easily, I don't even want to say they could be 6-2, but they could easily be 2-6. And they have just got to stop turning the ball over. I mean, that's really what this boils down to. Patrick Mahomes had 1 pick. He should have probably thrown 3 or 4 in this game. But they have got to stop turning the ball over. They got to stop throwing picks. They got to stop coughing it up. That's really where the majority of this Chiefs blame is had. And I got to be honest with you. This is the eye test here over the next few weeks in the NFL. I've always talked about it. 16-game schedule now with 17, but 4-game. Every section of the season, it's kind of divided into its own part. The first part is the intro part, try to get an early start. The second 4 is you're starting to round into form. The third one is positioning, and we really learn about who you are. And then the fourth one is finalizing, are you a really bad team that's losing out, tanking, getting a draft pick? Are you a team that is playing for something to build on for next year? Have you had a couple of surprise players, but you're about a 500 team and working position battles in? Are you going for home field advantage? Are you going to win your division and maybe get a better matchup if you win the last 3 weeks of the season? It's about finalizing who you are and your identity and your spot moving forward in the future. I just think that this Chiefs team, next 3 games, it's going to be yay or nay with this team, right? I mean, they're 4-4 right now. Green Bay at Vegas, Dallas at home. And that is, wow, that's a schedule. They host Denver after that. They should win. They host Vegas. I don't know what that game will bring. At the Chargers, brutal game. Home for Pittsburgh, tough game, tough defense. At the Bengals, we won't know about the Bengals for a little while. January 2nd right now. I mean, with the way this league works week to week, I mean, my God, do we, we can't guess anything on, November, whatever today is. And then at Denver at the end of the year against a team that at that point should be mailing it in. So I'm telling you, man, Kansas City the next few weeks, they've got a major test. 1, 2, 3 straight weeks in a row. As far as my game ball goes, there's a lot of good options to give it to each and every week. but I am going to go straight to the Dallas Cowboys, and I am going to give it to one Cooper Rush. I just thought he was outstanding in this game. I know he threw the pick, but he went 24 of 40 for 325 and 2 touchdowns, a game that, look, it's tough being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, star power and all the rest with Dak Prescott and the like. When you're a backup and you're in there, man, that is just as hard. The pressure is there, and, you have a bad game and people are like, oh, man, I can't believe he's a backup for this team. And the fan base starts chirping and all that. There's a reason backups are backups. They're not Tom Brady. They're not Drew Brees. They're not Dak Prescott. They're not Lamar and Josh Allen and Mahomes and Justin Herbert. They're not Peyton Manning. They're not Big Ben in his prime. But, this Cowboy team, I thought they really showed a lot. They needed to win a game like this. They did it. And Cooper Rush was a big reason why. Yes, he had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Cedric Wilson making great plays throughout the game. But I thought it was just an outstanding job by Rush to get in there and really learn the offense and give it a go. So my game ball to Cooper Rush of the Dallas Cowboys. Terrific stuff there. Okay, I've covered all the games here on the recap for Week 8. By the way, 2 teams had byes this week. Those 2 teams, the Raiders and the Raiders and the Ravens. Be on the lookout for my NFL Week 9 preview later in the week here on the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, and Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare. One more game to recap, and I'm going to give you right now my crossover episode from Bills Brawl, recapping the Dolphins and Bills matchup in Orchard Park. It was an ugly win for the Bills, but a win nonetheless. Before we do that, though, this.
You're listening to a Brawl Network production. This is a podcast for the best fans in the NFL.
Are you in the Mafia?
Am I in the what?
It's time for a Bills Brawl podcast.
2nd down and 7. Kelly with the time. Touchdown! Bill Brooks.
Allen. Deep shot. Touchdown! On the line to Stephon Diggs.
And Thurman breaking tackles at the 22. Inside the 10. Touchdown Buffalo.
And back with you, Bills Mafia. Bills Brawl is the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lindsley. This episode's going to be very straightforward. It's just a complete recap of the Bills-Dolphins game. That was pretty ugly this past Sunday, but you know what? They're not all pretty in this league. First things first, right out of the get-go, 2 things happen to be just right out in front of you and obvious, right? Number one, the Bills just looked totally out of sorts and lethargic. I don't know if that means too much beer and chicken wings over the break. Is it an overlooking of the Miami Dolphins? Perhaps that's the case. But for whatever reason, they came out just super, super lazy, lethargic, unable to execute. You name it, the Bills were doing it in a negative way. And the other thing that was tremendous, and oh, by the way, Josh Allen on with Peyton and Eli, on the Monday Night Football broadcast, and, talking about hosting a Halloween party, and, and then they were talking about, Peyton Manning and a bunch of people getting together and Josh Allen drinking all of his Blue Light, which was hilarious. But as far as, the off week goes, was Halloween parties, did they just kind of get out of it a little bit? And look, don't get me wrong, man. The NFL's a grind. It's super physical. You got to be focused every week, on. And I have no doubt that Allen and the crew is focused, but you do need a couple days to back away from pretty much anything in life. It doesn't matter what your field is. And it's fine if you have, a day or two like that. But if the majority of the week is like that, you can lose habits, good habits, really quickly, right? Really, really quickly. So, again, this was an ugly game, an ugly win, but they're not all pretty. They're not all going to be 40-10, spectacular firework blowouts. And in this game, it was 3-3 at the half. And you had to kind of wonder as this game was going on, are the Bills going to lose this game? Really? And I think what changed the game was that typically the Dolphins like to play a lot of press man-to-man coverage, right? They lead the NFL, or I don't know what the stat is now, but going into this game, they were leading the NFL in press man-to-man coverage, right? Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, two tremendous cornerbacks, physical, great hands, check you at the line, don't give up the deep ball. I mean, they're very, very good. Very, very good. And all of a sudden, Miami started to screw around and play a little zone. And then they were kind of guessing. And I think them going into some of that zone really was a mistake because Cole Beasley then got involved. Now, there was one play where Cole Beasley, it was a third down, I think from the Bills' own 21-yard line. And they had a 3rd and 14, and they were about to give the ball right back to Miami, tied at 3. And Allen just threw a dart to Beasley. That play, and Beasley was quoted to the media this way, and I'm paraphrasing, but, normally wouldn't see man-to-man in that situation, or a zone, man-to-man in that situation, especially the way they were playing, on and on and on, man-to-man to zone, the switches and all the rest. Well, guess what? They threw some man-to-man on that 3rd and long, and maybe that was Miami, kind of saying, well, hey, we played some zone, we're going to get you with this. Beasley hurt him a little bit. 3rd and long, they'll be expecting zone, right? Because we got to take away the long pass, right? We got to take away 15 yards or longer, and we'll go zone and trick them. Well, we'll go man and trick them rather, and Beasley tricked them and got free, got loose. When he catches the ball too, he's very, very elusive. He's super small. He's kind of like a gadget player. He's a sneaky player. He is really, really good with possession and advancement. And that was a huge play, and the Bills take it down, and they win all the battles, 3rd down conversions and the like. The best drive of the day, 13 plays, 80 yards, 706. Gabe Davis caps it off with an 8-yard touchdown pass from Josh Allen, which actually was a very, very nice play by Josh Allen. He was getting pressured. His helmet was touched and grabbed and all the rest, and he was able to throw it to Gabe Davis. The Bills then come back in the 4th quarter, started to, I think, feel pretty good at this point. If you're a Bills fan, sometimes it's just that first score. Get that first score, and then the snowballing effect happens with a really, really good team against a really, really bad team, an elite quarterback against a guy who can't right now figure it out in Tua. And Stephon Diggs, again, and Beasley was coming up big on this drive too. Another 3rd down, huge 3rd down conversion, 9 plays, 69 yards, and Josh Allen spots Diggs across the middle for a 19-yard pass to make it 17-3. That was with 13:23 left in the 4th quarter, and you're like, okay, I feel pretty good. And all of a sudden, Miami, right? Like, they start coming around a little bit. 17-11 after the touchdown and then the 2-point conversion to Gesicki. It's an 8-point game, and you're kind of going, oh, boy, I don't know. And then the Bills get a field goal, and it's 20-11. Now it's a 2-possession game with under 4 minutes. Okay. And then to seal the deal, Miami throws the pick. Jordan Poyer gets it, and the Bills take it in for a touchdown and win 26-11. The Bills, I thought, their adjustment to the zone coverage that Miami, started throwing their way, I thought was pretty good. They really started picking that apart, and because they picked that apart, a lot of the man defense that Miami started to go back to, which is that's where their bread is buttered. They were kind of playing guesswork more than the Bills were. They didn't know what defense they wanted to be in because Cole Beasley was changing it up. Dable and Allen were finding some people. The Bills were starting to move the football. They had a couple of scoring drives. That, to me, seemed like a huge part of this game. Look, the Dolphins are just no good. There's just no other way to say it. I think they have some very nice players. I think Myles Gaskin's a talented player, but he doesn't overwhelm you. I think Mike Gesicki's solid, but he doesn't overwhelm you. Devonte Parker was shredding the Bills' defense. He had 8 catches for 85 yards. he's really, really good, but I don't think he's a number one. I think Devonte Parker's probably like a 1A or a 2, but on this roster, he has to be a 1, until maybe even Jalen Waddle can eclipse him. They also have obvious issues with the offensive line and an obvious issue at quarterback. I mean, this is a team, if the quarterback is better, and we've seen the Russell Wilsons, and look at Aaron Rodgers, what he did, against Arizona, with a depleted unit. When I look at it like this with Tua, gosh, if you had an elite quarterback there, right? How much better are Gaskin, Waddle, Parker, Gesicki? Probably at least a little bit better, right? Because elite quarterbacks can take no-name players and turn them into Pro Bowl players. Or take first-round picks who are really solid at becoming one of the top 5 to 10 players at their position. See Deion Branch with Tom Brady in New England. It's one of those things where a lot of the things, like the dots are all connected with Miami. They couldn't get off the field in the second half on third down. That hurt them. They had the Bills pinned a couple of times. Couldn't stop them. That hurt them. Defense had to stay out there longer. The offense should, be able to convert against Miami's defense more times than not. But again, physical corners, toughness. But the Miami pass rush leaves a lot to be desired. They really need, a lot of breaks to go their way. Luckily for them, their two corners, when they're left on an island a lot, they're pretty darn good, right? As far as the box score goes, quick, Josh Allen, I thought played like a B- game and still was rock solid. He went for 8 carries and 55 yards and a touchdown, and 249 yards through the air on 42 attempts with 29 completions and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Allen played a B-. You could almost stretch it to a C football game. He was super erratic in the beginning. I don't know what was going on with Allen in terms of, he was just kind of sporting a lot of attitude, and he was whining a lot. He was bitching at his teammates on the sideline, and I thought that all that was just not how Allen is normally. So, you have to wonder, did something happen in the beginning of the game? Did he get into an altercation with a Dolphin that we don't know about? Nothing was reported after the game, so I don't really know what was going on with that. But it just didn't seem like Allen, and he was just out of sorts. I mean, he missed Diggs. Diggs was wide open on that first drive. I think it was a third down play, and it was maybe 3rd and 8 or so, and Allen had kind of scrambled out of the pocket, and all he had to do was just flip it just really light and easy to Diggs. He overthrew him by like 3.5, 4 feet. If he just makes, that's a routine on the run, like backyard football toss to somebody. If he throws that ball to Diggs, and Diggs had daylight, and I think he had a blocker or two, that would have been a huge gain, if not to the house. Little things like that. Allen was missing like crazy. He should have thrown about 2-3 picks in the first half. Luckily for him, they kind of dropped in areas, and the secondary wasn't able to convert. But, overall, Allen with 304 total yards of offense and 3 scores, playing a B- almost stretched to a C game. You still take those numbers, don't you, from your franchise quarterback. Devin Singletary, 7 carries for 28 yards, and Zach Moss, 8 carries for 19 yards. Not a ton from those two guys in this game. And the Bills, they ran it 15 times with those two, and it just seemed like when they were trying to run the football, it was really forced. And I was just done with it. I was tired of it. Receiving-wise, 10 carries for 110 yards. 10 receptions, rather, for 110 yards for Cole Beasley. Diggs went for 540 and a touchdown. Zach Moss, 6 and 39. Tommy Sweeney, 3 for 30. Gabe Davis, 4 for 29 and the touchdown. Singletary, 1 and 1, and that was pretty much it. Great job by the Buffalo defense pretty much all game long. The 2 superstars of this game, I thought, actually 3 superstars. I got to put Jordan Poyer in there as well. If this were hockey and I had to do 3 stars of the game, I'd probably go number 1, Cole Beasley, number 2, Ed Oliver, and number 3, Jordan Poyer. Poyer had 10 tackles, 10 of them all solo, and he did have that interception at the end to seal the deal and the Bills went in for the score. And then you look at Tremaine Edmonds. He was really good too. Milano, Johnson, Wallace, Hyde. I mentioned Ed Oliver. He only had 2 total tackles and 1 was solo, but he should have had his first sack of the year, but Jerry Hughes got nailed on an offsides. He had multiple quarterback hits, and he was all over the run game of the Miami Dolphins. I thought Ed Oliver was great. And let's be honest. I know Sal Mayorana and a lot of people have talked about this, and I agree with them in that Ed Oliver, as a top 10 pick, has not come to fruition for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's very rare that Brandon Beane has missed on some players, but clearly he missed so far on Ed Oliver. Now, maybe this is a coming out party. Maybe it's not. How much of it has to do with the just absolutely atrocious Miami Dolphins offensive line? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. They play 2 more horrendous offensive lines in the coming weeks, and the Jaguars and the Jets. The Bills need to win those games by double digits. And the Bills played probably a C football game against Miami and still won by 15. But again, it was ugly for a good portion of the game up until the third quarter when they were able to get those back-to-back long drives and touchdowns to kind of give Bills Mafia a sense of relief until Miami hung around just a little bit. But even when the game was ugly and it was close and it was 3-3 at the half, I was worried for sure because I was like, they can't lose this game, right? I mean, this just is impossible. But I also knew that something would happen because of the opponent. And that's the difference. When you suck and your opponent sucks worse, you can pull it out. If the Bills were playing a quality opponent, they would have gotten smoked. Because the Bills didn't have it. It was an off day and all the rest, and ba-boom. I mean, look at week 1 against the Steelers with all those eggs into that one basket, all the hype, all the expectations, all the things we always talk about. Bills laid an egg, right? I mean, they laid an egg against Miami. They got it going a little bit offensively. They adjusted. They were the better team. But, when it was really, really bad, you just kind of sat there and said, I think the Bills will score a little bit, and it'll keep being close, but Miami will end up screwing up eventually. And they did, multiple times. The officiating was horrible in this game. The Bills have got to clean up their penalties. And by the way, I had mentioned misses by Brandon Beane. I mean, Cody Ford, I don't know what the heck that guy is all about now for the Bills. I mean, is he basically a bust at this point? Spencer Brown was out, so they had to move Darrell Williams out to the outside. John Feliciano goes from left guard to right guard. They insert Ike Bucker in there next to Dawkins on the left side. So there's just a lot there to unpack as far as Cody Ford's future with the Buffalo Bills. I thought in training camp and in the early part of the season, I thought the Bills really could have done themselves a favor. And I don't know how much of this, behavior by the front office has to do with us asking the question of, hey, is Cody Ford here to stay or not? Like, they should have given him more consistent reps, I think. He should have gotten in there more to be able to get his feet wet, to see what you have there. I don't know what Cody Ford, I'm still in between on him because, man, here's a guy who Brandon Beane traded, and so far he's been a miss. But Brandon Beane traded up to get this guy a couple drafts ago, right? I mean, he traded up. And Cody Ford's a house. Cody Ford was one of the best offensive linemen in America. He played for Oklahoma. He played for Lincoln Riley. He played in a system that's produced multiple Heisman Trophy winners. They've produced Kyler Murray. They've produced Baker Mayfield. They've produced monster Heisman Trophy caliber quarterbacks, great offensive line, unbelievable system. And Cody Ford, you got to be real. You're playing that fast and you're scoring 50, 60 points a game. The offensive line has got to be on point all the time because you're always on the field. You get the ball, you score. You get it again, you score. You take it down and score. You get it again and score. They don't play a lot of defense in the Big 12, but even so, with the offensive line, you're moving at a big-time pace. You got to be on your game. And Cody Ford was great in college, and I just don't know what his future looks like now. For the Buffalo Bills, especially with some of these other pieces the Bills maybe want to work in. Bucker, hey, is he our guy now in the future? And let's also call it what it is. I mean, this offensive line has not been good. I mean, it really hasn't been. I think that they have a ton of work. I think that they're probably the weakest unit on the team at this particular point. I mean, I don't think you can take, for as much as you can complain about the pass rush not being consistent enough, the Bills, the Bills' rush has been good enough in a lot of games, especially against inferior opponents. They had that big stretch there where they were just completely and utterly embarrassing opponents, and they got to Patty Mahomes when they needed to and all the rest. So the pass rush you can't say is the worst. Certainly the offense at any position is not the worst. Wide receiver group, blah, 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 quarterback, running backs, they're not overwhelming. They're not underwhelming. They're kind of in the middle, but they're not the worst unit, right? The secondary is probably the strength, other than Levi Wallace, even though he had a couple of decent moments. He got burned a couple times early, and then kind of cleaned up his act a little bit. But you've got Trey White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde back there. I mean, that secondary is a strength, if anything. If they had another shutdown corner, for God's sakes, the Bills might have undoubtedly the best secondary in the National Football League. Linebackers, no way you can say that's a weak link. Special teams, I mean, look, Isaiah McKenzie right now is struggling. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. They got a major break on that touchback. I mean, that was an unbelievably stupid play by McKenzie. And I think when you look at McKenzie, he's got to clean up quite a bit. He just doesn't look as strong as he did at the back end of last year, actually against the Dolphins when he went off. Since that point, he's been pretty shaky. I still trust him. I still think he's the guy. Is he pushing? Is he pressing? He might be. He goes on with Tyler Dunn. He's really hilarious on that Go Long Isaiah McKenzie show. If you get a chance to listen to Tyler, go ahead and download and subscribe to Go Long. It's just a phenomenal podcast, and his content at golongtd.com is amazing. And Tyler comes on with me often. But like McKenzie is a guy who tells it like it is. He's funny. And he does a couple of jokes talking about, hey, well, I never get the ball. And he acts like he's joking around, but you can kind of tell that he means it. Like, I don't get the ball that much and I don't make a lot of money. And I think that might be getting to McKenzie. So is that a situation where he is pressing because of that? I don't know. Neither here nor there. You know what you do? If you're the Bills, you take this game. I won't even bother with the tape. It was an ugly game. You're going to have ugly games like this. You won. You're 5-2 overall. You're 3-1 at home. You're still in fine shape in the AFC with a lot of football left to play. Go out and win the next 3 at least, right? All of a sudden, the Colts, a team that should have beaten the Titans, right? This past week, and Derrick Henry went down and all the rest. It could have been a 2-game swing for the Colts. Instead, it's another swing the other way in favor of the Titans. And, now the Colts are way, way back, but they are still a better, more competitive team. But Carson Wentz makes a lot of mistakes, and that defense you can shred with an offense like Buffalo. To me, the Colts are a little bit more of a formidable opponent than we thought, just a couple of weeks ago. But look at what the Bills have coming up. They've got Jacksonville, at the Jets, home for the Colts, an erratic team, especially at quarterback. And they go at New Orleans on Thanksgiving night with who knows who at quarterback, with Jameis Winston being out for the year. I mean, is it Trevor Siemian still at that point? I don't know. Then they got the Patriots at home on Monday Night Football with a couple of extra days to prepare. You know what? I'm looking at this right now at five straight games. Bills need to win all of them. That's what I'm looking at right now. Go win the next 5. You'll be 10-2. And I think at that particular point, we're still waiting. The Bengals just lost to the Jets. The Patriots beat the Chargers. The Chiefs are still kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. Titans just lost Derrick Henry. Go out and win these games. Get home field advantage. And then the back end of the schedule is it should be a cakewalk as well. I mean, they play Tampa Bay. That Tampa will be favored in that game. Well, maybe. I mean, Tampa just got their doors blown off by New Orleans again, but that'll be close. It'll probably be like a 3-point line. Then you got Carolina, New England, Atlanta, New York, Jets again. So For my money right now, the Bills should not lose more than one more, at the most 2 more games, unless they really, really slip up. Now, look, they almost slipped up against Miami. It's the NFL, any given Sunday, blah, blah, blah. But good teams find a way to win. And the Bills are a good team. The Giants are a horrific team. They found a way to lose on Monday Night Football to the Chiefs. And they had that game right in their lap. Worst case scenario, if you lose 2 the rest of the way, and you go 7-2, 7 games. We got 9. We have 10 more games to go. If you go 8-2, you are 13-4, which might just get it done. But I got to tell you, if you go 9-1 and you're 14-3, I think that seals the deal for home field for the Buffalo Bills. Because I think that there's going to be a lot of teams that come back a little bit. A lot of teams we don't know if they're ready in terms of arriving and all that. So pretty great place to be right now if you're a Bills fan. And that's with the game against Tennessee, in which Allen slipped, where the Bills really had a chance to win that football game. Mike Lindsley with you here. It is the Bills Brawl Podcast. Thanks for listening. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.